The sage and his beloved mountain, inseparable, the mightiness of the hill perfectly matched by the spiritual might of the sage. What was the relationship between both? Revered as the mountain of fire and representing the element of Agni, Arunachala symbolizes the highest knowledge, the very core of the Upanishads. Arunachala, being one of the oldest rock formations on earth, reinforces the ancient tradition that holds this mountain to be most sacred. According to the Puranas, since the very beginning of creation, those who seek the highest truth have been drawn inexorably by the deep mystical quality of the mountain and its timeless spiritual resplendence. Arunachala Mahatmyam states that this mountain is Lord Shiva himself, and that just to think of Arunachala sets one on the path to liberation. It also clearly states that only those whom Shiva calls can come here, and this was verified by Sri Ramana Maharshi himself. Tiruchuri is a small village about 30 miles south of the famous pilgrim center of Madurai in South India. On the 30th of December 1879, in a small house opposite the Bhuminatheshwara temple which dominates the village, Venkataraman, who was later to become Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, was born. This was the night of Ardra Darshan, a day sacred to Lord Shiva. As the deity re-entered the temple after the ceremonial procession, the first cry of the child was heard from this room. Bhagavan's father, Sundaramayar, an uncertified pleader, was much revered by the people of the village and surrounding areas. He was a man of integrity, and even robbers respected him and left him untouched. Sundaramayar and his wife Alagammal were both deeply religious. They were noted for their generosity, and they kept an open house where both pilgrims visiting the temple and the poor were invited to take food. Venkataraman, the second of 4 children, grew up as an average boy. There was nothing particularly distinctive about his early years, except that he was a deep sleeper. For his elementary education, he attended schools in Tiruchuri and for a short time in Dindigul. In 1892, tragedy struck the family. Venkataraman was just 12 years old when his father Sundaramayar died, leaving the family to be cared for by his 2 younger brothers. Alagamma and 2 of the children went to stay with Nellayappa Iyer, who lived in Mana Madurai, whilst Venkataraman and his elder brother Nagasamy went to live with Subba Iyer in Madurai. There he continued his education at the Scots Middle and American Mission High School. It was apparently by accident that Venkataraman heard about Arunachala when he was 16 years of age. One day, an elderly relative of his called on the family in Madurai. The boy asked him where he had come from. On hearing him mention Arunachala, a strange, inexplicable wave of emotion swept the boy's heart. He then asked, "What? From Arunachala? Where is it?" and the relative replied that Arunachala was Tiruvannamalai. The act of destiny had begun. Sometime in July 1896, when Venkataraman was sitting on the first floor of his uncle's house, a sudden and unmistakable fear of death took hold of him. He felt he was going to die. But instead of panicking, Venkataraman calmly set out to solve the mystery of death itself. He proceeded to find out what it was that died. In a flash, it dawned on him that death was for the body alone. The true being has no death. For the young lad, such realization was not the result of logical thinking. There was no time involved in the process. The supreme reality, Satchidananda, that is ever present, was revealed. From that day onwards, Venkataraman lost all interest in outward life. A studied indifference characterized his behavior. Previously, he would go routinely to the Meenakshi temple and stand before the deities. But now he began spending more time there. He would stand silently before the images of Nataraja, Meenakshi, and the 63 Tamil saints. And as he stood there, tears would flow copiously from his eyes.